In today's video, we're once again stepping into the world of VR to take a look at Pinball FX VR. So far, this has been an absolute revelation and one of the absolute best ways I've experienced to play pinball outside of playing the real thing. However, there is one thing that kind of takes away from the experience a little bit, and that's the controls using it stock with the MetaQuest 3. But thankfully, there is a way to improve the control schematics thanks to the X-Arcade. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Michael B, and in today's video, we're going to talk about Pinball FX VR yet once again, but this time it's a little bit different because we're going to pair it with the X-Arcade, and we're going to show how that can improve the overall pinball experience and make it more immersive to what you would experience with a real pin. I want to say thank you very much to both Pinball FX for sending me the code for Pinball FX VR, Zen Studios, as well as X-Arcade, who also sent me the X-Arcade for the purpose of review. That's right, I'm double dipping on the sponsorships in this video, but I will tell you, neither one of these companies asked me to make this video. This is something I thought I would make purely for your guys' interest. So let's take a look at Pinball FX VR, teaming it up with the X-Arcade, and see if it does bridge the gap between the experience that you get through your MetaQuest 3 goggles and the actual hand feel and immersion that real pinball would provide to you. So like I mentioned in the opening, Pinball FX VR has been a wonderful experience for those of us with a MetaQuest 2 or 3, as it's one of the most immersive pinball experiences you can get out there, showing off that depth that you don't get anywhere else that I've experienced outside of virtual reality or playing on a real machine. The only drawback, of course, is the controls, which do feel kind of disjointed from the immersive experience, as your flippers are the back triggers and your nudge is one of the controller buttons, and to launch you either press the A button or do this kind of virtual plunger. Now that's where the X-Arcade comes in. Now me personally, I picked this up to pair with my MegaCade, as it's an excellent arcade controller, kind of gives you that experience with a PC or other device that you're looking for. However, it does have other uses. Thankfully, the team at X-Arcade worked with Pinball FX VR to integrate their VR options with the X-Arcade, so you can hook your MetaQuest 2 or 3 up to the X-Arcade and play Pinball FX VR using their controls. The first thing you're going to want to do is actually unplug the USB in back, or else Pinball FX VR won't work. Then you're actually going to unplug your power cord if you have a battery like me, and plug in this little dongle device into your MetaQuest, plug your power cord back in, and that's pretty much all you have to do. Once you log into Pinball FX VR, an option will come up to basically click OK for the X-Arcade mode. That's it, and then you're experiencing Pinball FX with the X-Arcade. Keep in mind that it only works while playing games, so while you're traversing the arcade itself, you'll still have to use your MetaQuest controllers up to the point where you actually reach the pinball table you want to play. Like in this case, it's Medieval Madness. So I'm going to click to play, and then when I do, another option will come up to give me normal mode or X-Arcade mode. At that point, the screen will go translucent, and you can put your MetaQuest controllers onto the X-Arcade and then hit the flipper buttons on the side to start your game. Once you're in there, your hands will be transfixed on the flipper buttons, so that VR aspect is gone, and then you can start playing. However, keep in mind there are specific controls related to the X-Arcade. Your flippers are the flipper buttons on each side, and to launch, you're going to have to press the A button, and to nudge, it's the joystick on the left. Now here's a recap of what I just did. Here you can see me placing my MetaQuest 3 controllers into the slots which you saw in the video. I press the flipper buttons on the side to start the game, and I am good to go. Of course, it's a little bit awkward where you can't see, trying to find that A button to launch, and same with the nudging on the other side. That's one of my qualms about this. Like, you really have to memorize where your controller is, but now you're playing pinball with real buttons. Of course, Medieval Madness, fantastic game, but after your game is over and you never achieve the score you really hope you're going to achieve, game over comes up. You have an option to press the left flipper for play again, right flipper to exit table. Once you exit the table, you'll get a prompt to tell you the X-Arcade device only works in-game, so you're going to pick up your Quest controllers, hit OK, and then move over to the next pinball game you want to play. Once you reach that game and hit play, you'll be prompted to go into X-Arcade mode again. Repeat the same process, put your MetaQuest controllers into the X-Arcade, get yourself lined up, hit the flipper buttons, and Bob's your uncle, you're all of a sudden playing pinball again. So it's A to launch, and then you are off to the races, and it's pinball the same way you would feel if you were playing on a real machine with your flippers on the side. Now, me personally, I love this experience. Like, it's the one thing from Pinball FX kind of takes me out of the experience is the fact using those MetaQuest controllers to actually have a physical device that feels like the front of a pinball machine certainly improves that experience for me, and I enjoy it a whole lot more. The experience, however, isn't perfect. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, it is a little bit awkward to find the launch button and the nudge button, and there is in fact no haptics. So while you're playing, there is no force feedback, there's no plunger, but thankfully X-Arcade have mentioned those are going to be coming in the future, and maybe the experience will be a lot more immersive at that point. But don't take away from how cool it is to be able to have your hands on something and just fool your mind for a little while you're in the virtual reality space playing on these pinball machines with the controls in the place where you think they should be. Now, if you've played with the X-Arcade, you know how good the controls are. The flipper buttons feel fantastic. There's absolutely no timing issues within the game. They work like they should. So you're automatically playing pinball with no slowdown, the exact same way your MetaQuest would respond. So there's no timing delays or input delays, which, as you know, is so important with pinball, because pinball is a game of timing, angles, making sure your shots are right. And as you can see here, I'm having a blast playing with the flipper buttons acting like they should. I'm still terrible at pinball, but it's still so much more fun and leads to so much of a more immersive experience just having those controls at your disposal. Overall, playing Pinball FX VR on the X-Arcade is certainly an improvement over the stock settings, and one, if you have an X-Arcade and a MetaQuest 3, you should certainly look into. So anyways, guys, that's my look at Pinball FX VR using the X-Arcade2TV-VR, or they're calling it the Tank Stick VR now, as the peripheral to improve the overall immersion and pinball experience. Me personally, I absolutely love it. If you have two of these already, definitely pair them up. This is probably the absolute best way to play pinball outside of playing on a real machine that I've experienced personally. However, you got to keep in mind the X-Arcade does cost $500. So if you already have a MetaQuest 3 and you're thinking about picking one up, it's $500. You're paying $500 just for a peripheral to slightly improve the experience. I don't know if it's worth it for that. Now, me personally, I got the X-Arcade for the purpose of using it with MegaCade, using it for other reasons, playing arcade games and Steam games from my PC. So if you have an ulterior use for it as well, absolutely, I would suggest picking one up. But as just a peripheral for Pinball FX VR, I mean, it's $500. So, consider that yourself. Make sure there's an extra use. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comments down below, what do you think of the combination of Pinball FX VR with the X-Arcade2TV-VR or XR, whatever they're calling it? Is this something you've already experienced? Do you find it improves the experience the same way I do? And if you don't have it, but you're already playing Pinball FX VR through your Quest, is this something you're interested in picking up? Anyways, guys, thank you so very much for watching. This is Michael B. the Game Genie. I'll talk to you next time.